that we will hold here in Valencia related to the Reporting Academy Level 1, which has started around 10 days ago, but that will change its format to from a remote training to a in-person training next week, right? So first of all, let me just shut down the countdown. Okay, here we go. Perfect. And I'm going to share in this monitor the PDF presentation that I sent to you yesterday in the afternoon. In this presentation, this PDF is, if you had time to go through it, it is quite long. It's intended to be as a reference material. We will not ask direct questions coming from this presentation right down the road, even in the pre-assessment or in the final assessment in Valencia on next Saturday or 2 Saturdays from now. But please do take a look at it because it's a quite complete. It does tell you all the different features and things that you can do and perform, especially for analysis workspaces, right? We did work hard these past years in order to come up with this presentation, because as you can see, there are plenty of, and I'm scrolling down, there are plenty of screenshots, plenty of different step-by-step type of guide. Yes, let me mute some of you. All right. And you pretty much have most of different features that you can encounter in the analysis workspace as you go through the presentation. As you can see here, we have 126 pages. So it's quite complete, quite long, and we believe that it will be good reference material for you in order to go back to it in case that something is not so clear while you are performing some exercises. So the idea for today's session, it's really not to go through this presentation, right, but to put our hands right away on an analysis workspace. And we will use the same methodology as we have been using for the past WebEx sessions, which is basically, and let me drag and drop this file here. Basically, what we're going to do, it's to go on a one step at a time type of exercise, testing and going through all the different functionalities that we may find while we're working with analysis workspace. You can see that in different colors we highlighted the activity that we're going to test or we're going to go through. And we will go really slow because some of you already, yesterday was the first time that you were facing the, let's say, BI at some point. So you'll see that it's quite fun, it's quite entertaining, right? And it's quite useful as well to start using the analysis workspaces because as you can see, you can really modify data and the different data contained. And based on your needs and based on what you're looking for, you will be able to modify really, really deep the way that the data is shown. So this is the exercise. It's a navigation guided exercise for analysis workspaces. You will receive something like this, very similar to this, right after we finished this WebEx this morning. So you will be asked to go through this exercise and then send it back to us as some of you already have done from yesterday's session. So if we are asking for several questions related to some numbers, data specific, you just put it in the Word as an answer. If we ask you to design a pie chart based on a specific scenario, what you can do is you just can copy that screenshot of the pie chart of the analysis workspace in this exercise in Word and send back to us. So whatever fits better for you, it's okay. Eventually, what we want you to go through the exercise, test it, feel comfortable. And as we usually do every single day in the afternoon at 2 o'clock Valencia time, we will have a support session where we can go through the exercise, where we can just ask, you can ask questions, as many questions as you deem necessary for BI, and it will be a place where we can share, or you can comment anything that you encounter as an issue or something that you need further clarification with. So I think that the audio, we tested the audio, everything is okay. As we always say, you can interrupt. Actually, you're not interrupting. You can just chip in any time during this session and ask questions, or you can use your chat, because I will try to monitor along as I'm speaking or doing the exercise. And feel free to ask questions at the end of the session or in the afternoon session related to Web Intelligence reports or the session that took place yesterday. No problem whatsoever, right? So this is an open session for all questions for BI. But it's important that if you're doing the exercise along with us, do not try to ask questions for point 15 if we are explaining the point number 3, right? We do understand that some of you already have a good knowledge or an average knowledge of BI and already are familiar with these type of reports, but the majority of you sometimes, feel better and more comfortable if we go step by step and we don't jump in from one point to another. So if you have questions down the road in further points and we're just starting, just hold your horses for a bit and ask the question when we reach that point. We really appreciate that, because from experience in doing these exercises, and especially for BI, the variety of level of knowledge between the students is quite big, and we may encounter guys who are really using this tool for quite a long time, and some of you have never entered into the tool. So we really have to balance all those differences and trying, as we said before, and all these sessions, not leaving anyone behind. Again, after we have finished this session, please do take a look at the exercise. Try to do your best. As a kind reminder, please, if you have not done some of the exercises from previous sessions, and I'm mentioning ECC, SRM, Excel, or yesterday's session, please do take a look at the exercises and send back to us. We're compiling all the exercises and doing some sort of a report so we can see which is the difference between the people attending to the WebEx and the reception, let's say, of the exercises and the quality of them, so we can show to you on the very first day of the workshop in Valencia. But we will not have a lot of time to go through these exercises. Or let me put it this way: we will not have any time in Valencia when we are all together to go through these exercises during the class. Very important. So ask as many questions as possible. Of course, if you do have questions when you're in Valencia, we'll try our best to support you. But we are taking for granted that you already, went through these navigation exercises, which we consider of paramount importance before we start going through the scenarios on the business process themselves. So let me take a look at the chat in case that we have any question before. Yes, Jamal is saying that he didn't receive the exercise. It's normal. We don't want to send the exercise beforehand, because otherwise you just do it along with us sometimes, and you may lose a bit of focus. So the idea is to send to you this exercise along with the one that you have to send back to us right after this session, please. And you can always, take a look at this exercise and just trying to log in BI if you want or you think that is better for you. But as I said, we weren't going to start, kind of like small, and then we'll go big. Small to very basic features, and then we'll go big to some other more complex features that you can find in these reports. So, having said that, the idea is to log in right away into BI, and for doing so, as we have explained yesterday, we do have a launchpad, right? And this is the URL that we showed to you yesterday. We are going to bypass Citrix, but we can always log in through our Umoja portal without a problem, and the reports and layout will be the same. Okay, but if I just log in and click automatically with my ADMS credentials and Umoja production credentials, I'm just one click away of the reports themselves. So as we did yesterday, we're going to jump directly from production to let's see the exercise, right? So this is the exercise, and we'll go step by step. And once we read the step, we'll go directly to the report. We'll perform the different actions, and then we will go back to the next point. In case you have particular questions, please do pose those questions at the point that we are covering these features, because or the different functionalities. So it's better so we can tackle all those doubts or comments right away while we are performing things. So I'm going to log in into Umoja BI. So that's every time I'm doing something, I will put it in red. So logging into Umoja BI, that's done. Okay, as we did yesterday. This is the production, the different folders, as we explained yesterday. We took a bit of time explaining how to log in, how to navigate through all these different buttons. That you can always go to your documents. When you click on My Documents here, your documents is your own reports, your own place where you can just save and work privately. Let's say with your reports, no one will access this data. And if you want to go back to production, you just have to go down, you see folders, you click again on folders, and you will be able to see production folders automatically there. And within these folders, or subfolders, you will be able to see all different reports. So which is the report that we're going to work with? In point number 2, the exercise is telling us that in funds management folder, we have to launch a particular report, which is called Funds Management Analysis Area. And this is the code of the report, Funds Management Analysis Area. The idea to work with budget reports, and as I'm explaining, I will go to, it's within Finance, Funds Management, here, and I will see an analysis workspace. You see the type of report, this is the column. I do have several analysis workspace and one web intelligence report. Today's sessions, it's on analysis workspaces. So the first report that we find, or the one that we're going to work with, is the funds management analysis area, set fm underscore m0 underscore r0001, which it's the same one that we can find here. Okay, so we have found the report. We have more than one analysis workspace here, but basically this one, this funds management analysis area, it's the cube of data that contains most of the other reports. You see these funds management budget consumption detail, funds management budget consumption summary, right? So these two analysis workspace are kind of like a subset of the first one. So if we may say that this funds management analysis area, it's the analysis workspace that really covers most of the data related to budget. If we want to open this report, it's as easy as double click on the report and you'll see the prompt. As we said before, in yesterday's session in BI, you all have always the same pattern. You click on the report you want to launch and then you will have a prompt. This prompt, it's like the T code that we are always using in ECC, for example, right? So we have to fill in some information, and once we have filled all the information that we think it's fitting our purpose, then we'll click on OK, and then we'll see the report, and then we'll have to work in the report. So it's always a two-stage type of process. First, you work with your query or your prompt, and secondly, you work with the layout or you work with the report. Hello, I think we have someone who has not been muted, so let me mute. Okay, thank you. So let me close this part. Remember to mute yourself once you log in, or if you don't want to. Just excuse me just a second. Sorry, some guys were just opening the door of the meeting room here. So again, I resume where I left it. The prompt, always the same in BI, regardless whether we are talking about web intelligence reports or analysis workspaces. These prompts, to be frank with you, the ones related to the analysis workspaces work in general much better than the ones in the web intelligence reports. Remember yesterday what we did, and let me just go back. You see this tab, the tab of this report it's open. So I'm going to go to another report so you see the difference. Remember yesterday we went to the special political missions and we launched this status of expenditure by commitment item, right? Just going to show you the difference between these two prompts. Remember that sometimes these prompts do not pop up automatically the prompt, so you have to force clicking or to force the prompt clicking on refresh. And did you see this prompt already populates or pre-populates several fields, which is ABC ledger, budget period, and funds already. But if I go to the other report, the analysis workspace here, except this one, ABC ledger set 1, which is the one that it always has to be there for FM data, the rest is empty. So you cannot find, or you will not find, any prompt in analysis workspace, regardless funds management, source to acquire, or any other type of analysis workspace in BI with pre-populated data. So these prompts work much better than the other ones in the web intelligence reports. You see? These ones, right? Remember that in case that you are not looking for the budget period B15, you have to remove this, you have to remove the fund in case that you don't want to go for the event general fund, and so on and so forth. So let me cancel this one, and if I want to close this report, I just close this tab on the top. So I'm getting back to my analysis workspace. Okay, so let me mute some of the participants. Okay. So what do we have to do here in the prompt? We have to fill in with some data. In point number 3, it says in the initial prompt, select fund 20 blah, which is Brindisi Valencia, logistics base, and the budget is P18. So only 2 fields will be populated in the prompt. Okay, so I'm going to the prompt, I'm going first to the budget period here, or you can go here as well, and you'll see a match code. The match code, you open the match code, clicking on these 2 squares, and you will see the different options already there. As we said before, remember in some web intelligence reports, you had to click on an asterisk and click on the search engine in order to come up with the master data elements, right? To be selected. In these prompts in the analysis workspaces, you don't have to do that. Always the members with the key text will be available for you to be selected. So in our case, we have to select P18, right? P18 peacekeeping period 2017-18. So we tick here and we click on OK. So that's there, P18. I can always remove P18 if I want to change, or I can always type here, you see, P18, and it will work. But I do not, if you are not so familiar using these reports, I will never type directly because you can always commit some sort of mistake or a typo. Here, put in a B, for example, I don't know, that you don't get, and then you click on OK, and it doesn't pull out any data. So always best, instead of typing in, go into the match code and select the corresponding fields. So it's P18. You can always include more budget periods, right? Not only for budget periods, for any other master data element. You just go to the match code again and put or tick as many as you want. Then when you click on OK, you'll see different lines corresponding to different budget periods. But in our exercise, we are going only to use P18. So P16 we remove by clicking here on delete. P17 we remove, and P19 we remove. So we always come with P18. So that's budget period P18 and fund 20 blah. We will proceed the same way. So we go to the fund, which is the second line here. I can always type 20 blah, as I said. Do not recommend that to do so, especially if you are not so familiar with this tool. Always is best to go to the match code and select 20 blah or UNLV. You see that the member, which is this master data element, it's composed by a key and then a text. You see, the key, as we said yesterday, is the alphanumeric code master data element that you can find throughout Umoja, the ERP. So a key, in this case, for the first element we may find here, it's 32JMS, which stands, you see the text, for AU, UN Joint Med Support. So you can find by key the alphanumeric code, or you can find here in the goggles by text. That's why close to these goggles, in this black arrow, if I click here, I can look for a key or I can look for a text. Right? You see, if I click on text, the dot goes down. If I click on a key, the dot goes to the key. So I'm going to find here 20 blah. 20 blah stands for Brindisi. So if I click on the goggles and I'm looking for a key, I'm pretty sure I'm going to find 20 blah within all these master data elements. I can always scroll down and look for 20 blah, but you know, it's kind of like time consuming, and it's much better to use your goggles. You see, I click on the goggles and the system says, okay, you are typing 20 blah. I find 20 blah, and I highlight this finding in yellow. You see? Let me do the same. Instead of 20 blah, I'm going to look up for UNLV. But if I click here in the goggles, I will not find anything. Why? Because key is selected. UNLV is not key, it's just a text. So let me just click on the goggles. No members found with UNLV in key, you see? But if I keep UNLV and I change from key to text, you see text, and I click on the goggles, the system finds UNLV and highlights the text. This is very important. You know, it may seem kind of simple, but for funds, you know, it's kind of easy, right? Because you don't have too many funds. But sometimes when you're looking for fund centers, when you're looking for a specific commitment item, when you're looking for a particular business area, when you have plenty of other master data elements in the prompt, if you know how to use these goggles in the prompt, your life will become much more easier, right? So that's it from the prompt in terms of analysis workspaces, right? So we're going to fill in with P18 and 20 blah. As you can go, if I go to the exercise, this is point number 3. So far, what we have done, it's nothing complicated or so different from what we did yesterday, right? At the end of the day, we double click in a report, we fill a prompt, and then we click in OK. The huge difference will come now when we see this report, and we have to explain how this report looks like. Remember in the last session yesterday, when we clicked on OK after we filled the prompt, we encountered something very different to this, right? It was a report like an Excel with different columns and data, right? Now we're going to go step by step explaining all these different fields, but do not really panic. It's quite easy once you understand how to move and play around with these data and elements. You really, I mean, in general terms, everyone loves to play around with these reports because it's, they are quite useful and quite dynamic and user-friendly. So, first of all, let's explain the report from left to right. Okay, so first of all, this is a queue of the queue of data, right? If I click here, I'm removing, you see data here. Data, it's this column. So if I click again in the cube, this whole column or two boxes will disappear. You see? So I always want them to be visible because this is going to be very important for me. If I scroll down, you'll see different elements there. So these elements are going to be really important for me to drag and drop into these different boxes, and then the report will change accordingly. So this is the data. Then if I go down, you see the properties here. Let me click on properties. Basically, you'll see information on this analysis workspace. This is the code of the analysis workspace, when it was last refreshed, like now, like 19th of June, excuse me, yesterday. And you can actually put a name. You see analysis 1 here, so you can put a name here, and I can put here test WebEx Valencia Reporting Academy, for example. And I can even put here a description in case that I want to put a description, right? This is the column width, row width related to all these cells, and some other display options that we will not go through right now. If I click here and apply, then my analysis workspace, title has changed from analysis 1 to test WebEx Valencia Reporting Academy. Okay, so if I click again there, it disappears, but the data as well. So let me click on data, and then I have my data elements here and my title already put in the report. Because basically the report, the analysis workspace is this part. You see this bluish square, it's highlighted there. Here we go. This is the report. These columns and boxes are elements that I will use in order to modify this report. So let me go back to the third element, third icon here, which is outline. If I click there, this is the number of sheets. In this case, I have 1. You see test, and if I go down, you see 1 sheet. So this works pretty much like Excel. Sheet 1, then sheet 2, sheet 3, or you can include or add new sheets. So basically, you are including different analyses or different reports within the same analysis workspace. Okay, so let me go back to sheet 1. This is the elements that I can find. So I do have information on sheet 1, you see, but in sheet 2, nothing. On sheet 3, nothing. So let me click again there, and you have always to go up and click on data in order to see all the attributes. So those are the 3 icons. Let me stop at this point and check whether we have any question or something that needs further clarification. Any question, any comments so far? Are you guys following? Should I go faster? Should I go slower? Should I repeat anything? We need feedback from you guys. Because otherwise, okay, fine. Thank you, Lara. Fine. Thank you. Oh, well. Okay, good. I mean, you can use your chat. You don't have to speak up if you don't want to. Okay, thank you. Yes, two of you said faster, but the rest, like 15 of you, said that the pace is okay. So I'm going to stick to those guys. So sorry if you need me to go faster, but we're going to stick to the, let's say, the slowest student, let's say, for the moment, because we really want you to understand how these analysis workspace work, because they are not so, let's say, user-friendly from the beginning, right? If I just go and see this, for the first time, you may panic a bit in how I started using all this. So yes, I don't know. Of course, I can tell you how I can change the title. Yes, if I go to the properties here, this icon with this arrow, I can change the analysis name here, right? And then click on apply. And don't forget to click on apply, because otherwise this title will not change. See? All right, so I go again to the square and I have my data there. So that's these three free squares. Then this small square, you see these icons: connect to data source, remove selected data source. Let's do not explain these two. I mean, this will be for level 2, but this is related to whether we want all this data to be connected to the cubes universe of data that actually it's the back end of all these reports. So let's not play around with these two, but I will explain with this prompt. So this prompt, basically, it's like the refresh button that we saw yesterday in the Web Intelligence report. If I click on the prompt, I see the prompt again, you see? So if I want to change any of these parameters, or I want to include information in one of these parameters, I can always do that. If I want to include a fund center, if I want to change fund for 20 BLA to MINUSMA, for example, if I want to change the budget period, I can do it now, and I click on OK. And the report will change accordingly. So you can always change your prompt by clicking here on this icon. Okay, so let me cancel, because I don't want to change anything from my report right now. More things. So this is already explained. This is the title, right? The technical title of this report. And now I go to this very important, and let me just minimize this very important list of icons around here. Okay. First of all, you see this, let's say that these small icons around here. Here we have the key figures. Okay, figures always are numbers, right? So if we are talking about key figures, either appropriation, you see different types of appropriation, consumable budget, different types of pre-commitments, commitments, up until funds block, all these different items are key figures, you see? All of them are hanging from the key figures concepts here. If I collapse, I don't see anyone. If I extend here in the plus, I will see all of them. How many key figures do I have here? As many as columns you see here on my report. So if I see here on the top one row by 36 columns, that means that I have 36 columns, 36 key figures down here. Okay, so description of a key figure, it's a number that it's in one of the columns of my report. So if I see appropriation in Umoja here, I might see as of the first one, the first column should be appropriation in Umoja. If I scroll a bit to my right, you see appropriation in Umoja with no data. So key figures start from this thick line here to my right. And then fund, I will explain that later. But key figures, do not be confused about this fund or this information. Whatever you see underneath key figure to your right will be key figures with these icons here on your left. And will always be numbers and are columns in your report. You can minimize by clicking here in the plus or the minus, but they will be always present there. okay, on the left panel. So that's the first part, the key figures, very important. And you see the key figures are here in the layout. You see here in this small box, key figures. So they are in columns. You see, all the key figures are in columns. And in rows down here, I have, in this case, one only element, a fund, which actually we can find the fund over here in this first, not column, but first attribute in my report. How do I find more attributes or more categories of elements in my report? If I scroll down, you see the attributes in the report are characterized by these three blue stripes, let's say, that you can find all around here. Plenty of them. Okay, so I have here starting from A, so it's actually sorted in alphabetic order, starting from A, account number of supplier / vendor. If I scroll down, I can see even a fund, which I have here, funded program, IMIS, number, peacekeeping, fiscal period, and the last one is year, cash, effectivity for budget, blah, blah. If you want to scroll to your right, you can always put a bit bigger so you can see. Okay, click on OK, no problem. All right, so all of these three blue stripes, these icons here, are attributes that we want to drag and drop in the rows box. So far, I have only one dragged and dropped here, which is fund, you see? Let me just take it out. The fund, if you want to just take it out of your analysis, you're if you want to take it out this category 20 blah, you just drag out from rows to the left panel. And you see, the fund has disappeared from my report. Nothing is there. If I want the fund to be present again in my report, let me go to the F here, fund. And always it's important, very important to click on the plus. Well, sometimes it gives you an error here. Okay, don't worry. Fund, you drag it with your mouse and drop it there in the rows. And appears 20 black there with information on different aspects of the budget. So dragging and dropping elements to the rows will enrich my report. So for example, I'm just out of the exercise right now, but if I just want to drag and drop, for example, fund centers, right? You see fund centers are now in my rows. Now I see fund centers on my panel here. If I want to drag out, because this is not important for me, you just put it there. Let me just, instead of fund center, you see, I have here ABC Fund Center. So let me just take ABC Fund Center. ABC, the difference between Fund Center and ABC Fund Center basically is whether we do have money available for that particular item. So ABC Fund Center will tell you, okay, money from fund centers in UNLV are broken down here. ABC Fund Centers. Always, I like much more to work with ABC, using ABC type of components rather than the components without ABC. It's availability check, whether the system is checking whether we do have availability of funds within that category. Centers the second one over here. So I have all the information in key figures already broken down by different fund centers in Brindisi and Valencia. Let me review the chat, whether I hope everything is okay. I don't see any comments. You guys can speak up anytime. Claudia is asking, meaning that variables will show as long as there is information to display, right? Exactly. Claudia is asking whether if we do have information already available in the system in Umoja, then you are keen to drag and drop ABC type of elements. Because the difference between ABC Fund Center and Fund Center only, right? These two, Fund Center, where is it? Fund Center here, and I have here on the top ABC Fund Center, is that Fund Center will drag and drop all the different fund centers like master data elements in Umoja as a whole, not related to Brindisi. But if I go directly to ABC Fund Center, the system will and I only want the ones from Brindisi, fund centers from Brindisi with information available, information in terms of budget. So this is the ones I want to use. In any case, I just want you to understand how to read the report. So these two funds and ABC fund centers, the ones in the rows, are not key figures. You see, are elements, master data elements, and key figures are from this part to my right, broken down into different columns. If I want to the ABC Fund Center to be first driving my analysis, let's say ABC before the fund, I can always, you see, select ABC and just put it on the top. I'm just using my mouse here. I don't know why it's. Sometimes it gives you this error, don't worry. You see, ABC now drives my analysis and then it's the fund. Here it really doesn't make sense, right? Because I have first my fund centers, but it's always the same fund, 20 blah. So this is not giving me a lot of information. So let me just put it back and put it down here, just underneath the fund. So the way you play with data in your report is by dragging and dropping different attributes here in the different boxes. And you'll see the impact of those actions in the report here. So let me go back to the exercise, and then point number 4 tells us to insert in key figures. In the key figures, filter pre-commitment combined, commitment combined, and actual combined. So basically, the exercise is telling us in the key figures, which are this one, instead of 36 columns, I only want to have 3, which are pre-commitment combined, commitment combined, and actual combined. So how do I filter or only show 3 columns, those specific 3 columns? You can do it in several ways, but the best one or the ones that we usually teach, especially for non-advanced users, is you go to key figures because you want to filter key figures. You right-click, filter by member, and then you'll see all these columns ticked, except the last 2. So you're going to deselect everything. Okay, nothing is being selected, and only select the one that the exercise is telling you to put, which is pre-commitment combined, commitment combined, and actual combined. Only 3. So I tick only 3. I click in OK. And my report now, it's much, let's say, shorter in terms of columns. In key figures, I only have 3. Pre-commitment combined, commitment combined, and actual combined. The fund, EABC Fund Center, never changed. Only this information, right? So I have information in terms of budget, US dollars, by Fund Center, broken down by pre-commitments, commitments, and actual combined. So the pre-commitments related to shopping carts or pre-commitments created in the system, commitments or POs, and then the actual, which is the expenditure by each of these fund centers in Brindisi. Let me take out ABC Fund Center, right? Because it's not part of the exercise. So let me just take it out. So I have only the fund and information now. It's only one line. So I just forget the breakdown on the Fund Center, and I have an overall figure of Brindisi in pre-commitments, commitments, and actual for P18. Remember, for this year, it's only 10 days before we change the budget period, right, to P19. So how to filter, I think is clear. I can repeat that again. Always in the key figures, right-click, filter by member, and there you will be able to select wherever you think is best. If you want to change, include appropriation, you just tick and then click in OK. So point number 4, it's done. Okay, so now I have to drag and drop in the box rows in this box, right? The following dimension or attributes. You can always call it dimension or attribute, right? ABC Fund Center, which is the one that I did before. So ABC Fund Center is over here. I drag and drop there, and I see the breakdown of pre-commitment, commitment, and actual combined by Fund Center in Brindisi. Okay, so I did that, and I think it's clear. Filter the fund center by the following funds: 10 to 0, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So I have to filter out of fund centers. How to do that? The same thing. Before I filtered the key figures, now I want to filter ABC Fund Center. So I right click, you see, I select the attribute or the dimension, right click, filter by member, and I see all the different fund centers already selected. I unselect everything, so it's blank, and I only see I want to be shown T10 to 08 GSE General Admin, 10 to 09 HR, 10 to 010 Logistics, and 10 to 11 CITS. Only these four, and I click in OK. So now the report is modified only by 4 fund centers and information on pre-commitment, commitment, and actual of those 4 fund centers in Brindisi and Valencia, which is 20 blah, UNLV. You see, so it's always the same thing. It's drag and drop and filter so far, but I think it's clear, right? So 6 is okay. 7, show totals. How I include the totals in my report for the 3 columns: pre-commitment, combined, commitment, and actual combined. So let me go back. How do I show totals? Meaning that I want an addition of all the pre-commitments, all the commitments, and actual combined. Basically, it's including a total here in my report. So if I go to the first column and I right click, I can, you see, go to totals, and I want the report to show totals. Currently it's hidden. It's selected hide totals. I want to change to show totals. And you see another extra row appears in yellow with the addition of the different elements underneath. So pre-commitment, commitment, and actual, it's already up as a result. So I have here almost $400,000 in pre-commitments, a bit more than 4 million in commitment, and 49.8 million as actual combined expenditures in NLB so far. You see that this has changed. ABC Fund Center has changed this icon, right, to a yellow triangle, let's say, right, like a yellow filter here. This means that this dimension has been filtered. Hello, do you have any question? Because I see someone or trying to speak, or maybe with the audio opened. Okay, so let me go back to the exercise and see. So how to show totals? Quite easy, right? As I said before, I can remove the ones. Right click in the first column, show totals, or in this case, if I want to hide totals again, I select hide, and it will disappear. Totals, show totals. Okay. So let's go to point number 8, which is insert a pie chart. Okay, I see here some sort of a warning message from WebEx telling me that the audio is not the best. Can you please confirm the audio is working fine, please? Okay, Sandy, I hear you very good. Okay, perfect. Okay. I don't know why this warning message came pop up. Thank you, guys. So insert a pie chart. How many pie charts do I see? Okay, first, how do I insert a pie chart? then we're going to work here with this navigational menu. First, these three tabs: Analyze, Insert, and Display. Analyze, now it's selected with different options that we're not going to go through now. If I click on Insert, here I can insert different data visualization tools or graphics here, right? I have several options here: pie chart, line chart, clustered column chart, a bar chart, another type of charts, right? So it's as easy as going to Insert and clicking on the pie chart, and the system will understand that you want to include a pie chart, and you have 3 pie charts. Why? Because each pie chart will represent the column shown in the report. So if I have 3 key figures, right? Remember, I filtered only 3: pre-commitment, commitment, and actual combined, and I click on the pie chart. The system understands that they want, or you want, the information of the pre-commitment in a pie chart broken down by each of the fund centers: admin, HR, logistics, and CITS. So that's why I see here 3 pie charts with information already contained, even with percentages of the pre-commitment, commitment, and actual in UNLV. Let me mute some of you. Okay. Thank you. So I do have here 3 columns. So I have the 3 pie charts. You can always only see only one. So if you want to see only one, you have to scroll to your left, this panel, you see, and only select the first one, or select 2 of them if I scroll to my right, or select the one in the middle if I scroll to my right and only select the second one, or only select the last 2. As you wish. The way you play around with these parts will affect the number of pie charts or graphs that you'll see underneath here. Another thing to notice is that once I inserted a pie chart, automatically my report was split into 2 windows. First, the report itself, and secondly, a sub-analysis. You see, including within the same text, the same title, Test WebEx Valencia Reporting Academy Sub-Analysis 1, with the data visualization graphs there. And I have a legend here with different colors identifying different fund centers by each of these columns. So how many pie charts do I see? Answering the question in Insert a Pie Chart. It's 3 pie charts, each one corresponding to the key figures shown in my report. A question from Emil. Let me see that. Is it possible to have a total after actual combined, which should be the sum of the 3 columns? Yes, we can do that. But let me go back to the exercise and let's go step by step. That's something that we will show to you in Valencia, okay? Because in 1.5 hours WebEx, but you can find for sure all those different features within my or our presentation here. The quite long presentation will tell you how to do different things here. You see? So probably you'll see how to insert a calculation in one of these slides. I don't remember exactly where, but if you go down there, you'll see. Then if you didn't find it, or if you don't find it there, we'll work around and we'll play around with that functionality once we are in Valencia next week. Emilio. So then point number 9, leave only the key figures, the actual combined. So the exercise is telling us to leave only one column as a key figure, which is actual combined. Let me go back to, so I have only one actual combined. I have 3 now, and the exercise is telling me only come up with 1. How do I do that? 2 ways. I can always go again to ABC Fund Center. Excuse me, to the key figures, excuse me, because they are key figures. Right click and select only, deselect the first 2 and only select one, which is actual combined, but I'm going to show you another way. So you can select only the one that you want to be present in your report, which is actual combined, right-click, and select Keep Members. So if you select keep Members, the system understands that you want this only column to be shown in your report, and the other two will be removed. So Keep Member, you'll see, and I only have one key figure, and automatically my sub-analysis has changed to only one pie chart, because the other two columns, which were pre-commitment combined and commitment combined, have disappeared or have been filtered out of my analysis. Still they are present. I can always include them by right-click, filter by member, and I tick in pre-commitment combined and commitment combined, right? It's not that the data has been vanished or has been away and we are losing the data. No, the data is always here in the universe of data. But this is the layout that we want to play around, and the layout will change in terms of figures, but you are not changing the back end of the universe of data. So the data is over there. So key figures, only one column, actual combined, and accordingly you will have one pie chart. And you can see that the breakdown of these parameters was that basically expenditures in funds in Brindisi and Valencia related to these 4 fund centers are split in like this in the pie chart. So you can see that most of the actual or the expenditure so far in Brindisi and Valencia has gone 36% to general admin, 41% to CITS, makes sense, right? And a smaller part, which is 20%, to GSE logistics. And we have a tiny percent here, we don't have even the number, right, which is HR here, okay? And the exact numbers are here. HR, you see, will be $431,000 so far in terms of expenditures. So let me go back to the exercise again and go to point. So I have inserted the pie chart. How many pie charts do you see? Point number 1, point number 9, leave only the as key figures, actual combined. And point number 10 is asking us, how many pie charts do I see? Only one, right? I see only, sorry for that, only one pie chart because I have only one column in my report. So these two done. And number 11 is delete the pie chart. How I delete a pie chart? As easy as clicking here is that the window, once I inserted a pie chart, the whole report was, let's see, split it into 2 windows, the report itself and the graphical view of the numbers. But if you want to remove this graphical view of this pie chart, you only have to delete the analysis here, click on the X, and automatically you only see the report. Let me just take a sip of water. Thank you. So chat here. Lily is asking, when you select the column and clicked on Keep Members, can you do this with multiple columns? Let's try to do so. So let me include more columns in key figures, filter by member. So let me put commitment combined and pre-commitment combined, the initial 3. I don't know, Farah, if you're trying to speak, because I see a warning message here that you are trying to speak.
I mute myself, but by mistake, I don't know.
Okay, let me just try do it. I can mute you, I think. Yeah, no problem. So getting back to Lily's question. So let me just keep 2, right? Let's say I want to keep commitment and actual. I select commitment. I'm just clicking on the keyboard, my keyboard, Control, actual, right? So I'm selecting 2 columns. I right-click, keep members, and yes, 2 columns are displayed now. If I want to delete commitment now, I can just remove this part and only see the actual combined. Okay, Lily? Perfect, thank you. So I deleted the pie chart. That's done. Number 12, drag the attributes fund, ABC Fund Center to the background box. Okay, this is important. Now this is the first time that we're going to use this box, the background box. So it's exercise drag the attributes fund and ABC Fund Center to the background box. Okay, so and this is important as well. You can only select one at a time. You cannot select fund and then go shift or control and select the second one. You have to do one at a time. So I'm going to drag fund to the background first. What happened now? You see in the report fund 20 blah, it's out of the report, but it's in the background. The background is a really important element. I really want to use it, and you'll see when we do the exercise all together in Valencia, that's something I always tend to do, which is use attributes that you want to be present in your reports, but you don't want them to be shown in the layout of the report. So meaning that if I'm inserting fund in my background, the report understands, the system BI understands that you want to have fund, which is data from Brindisi 20 blah, in your report, but you don't want to have the fund present here as a column in the display or layout of the report. Let me go back again and put fund on the rows. You see, basically what I'm saying is fund, which is actually taking a bit of space of my my report, my analysis workspace. Let me just take it out of the report, but still it's present. So this information is coming from the fund 20 blah. So I just put fund in the background, and then ABC Fund Center again in the background. So what do I have here now in my report? I have information for these 4 fund centers. Remember that I had filtered only by 4 fund centers in Brindisi, and I have information from 20 blah Brindisi as well in the background, but the layout of the report, it's only shown to me as a key figures 49,800,727 US dollars as expenditure for these 2. But these 2 elements are not present in the layout of my report. So point number 12, done. I want to stop now and see, do we have any question? Do we have anything that we have to repeat anything? Do you guys understand the background concept? It's important, but because this information now it's present in my layout, let's say, in my report, but not in the layout. So we have to, you know, kind of like make a difference between the report and the layout of the report. Some sort of what Brian was doing with the change layout functionality, right? You can always change the layout, but that doesn't mean that you're removing the data, right? The data is always present in the back end, but you don't want that data to be shown in the layout of the report. So that's the whole rationale behind the background box. It's just that. Let me go back to the exercise. So point number 13, drag and drop in the rows box the dimension fiscal year period. Okay. So how do I find the fiscal year period? Let me mute some of you. Okay. Chat, let me just check. Understood. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Fiscal period. I think it's fiscal. Let me take a look at the exercise. It's fiscal year / period. So I go to the F, fiscal year period here. So I put it there in the rows, right? So what do I have here? I drag and drop fiscal year period, which is basically broken down all the actual expenditures combined by month for P18 in Brindisi and Valencia. June, July, August, September, October, November, December, up until now in June. So I have here a breakdown of all the expenditures in Brindisi and Valencia. Remember, these 4 fund centers, these numbers are not for all fund centers in Brindisi. are only, let me just filter by member and show to you that I only ticked initially, right, these four: admin, HR, logistics, and CATS. That's why you see this triangle here, this filter, yellow filter. The fund stays as Brindisi and Valencia, 20 blah, but then in the rows in my layout of the report, the breakdown, it's now driven by fiscal year period. Okay, so let me just put a total on that. How do I do that? As remember, first column, totals, show totals. So this is the total, $49.8 million, and the breakdown is the one underneath. Okay, so that's done. 13, 14, drag and drop in the columns box the dimension fiscal year period. Do you see any difference in the analysis? In the columns box. Okay, so you see columns box. So the exercise is telling me to drag this dimension, this attribute, instead of the rows, in here in the columns. Well, seems like crazy, right? So let's try to do that. Let's see if we're going to break the whole tool. So fiscal year period, let's put it there and see what happens. Don't worry, sometimes this pop-up message comes, but nothing's going to happen. Wow, so there's a huge difference in my report. Basically, what I'm saying here, there is nothing in rows. You see, nothing here in the rows. Everything now is in the columns, in the key figures, which basically I'm telling the system, okay, instead of having the different months and the breakdown of actual combined in different rows, put me all those rows in a column. So I see the same information instead of down here in the rows, here by column. So you see here 14 columns corresponding to 14 months: June, July, August, and so on and so forth. Let me just scroll to your right so you see that the last month it's the current month of June 2018. So the answer to the question, if you are asking yourself, yes, you can always drag and drop stuff related to categories of elements, dimensions, or attributes to the columns. And this is particularly important if you want to create line charts. We'll see in Valencia altogether, or maybe down later on. So you see that the layout of the report has drastically changed, let's say, by putting the fiscal year in the column. Okay, columns fiscal year. That's done. Point number 15, drag and drop in the key figures in the rows box. Wow, so now key figures here, the key figures, I want to put it in the rows. Let's see what happens. So now the actual combined, which was the only column that I had previously in my report, now the key figures are in a column, in a row here. You see? So I have my actual combined and the breakdown by different months.
WebEx, how are you? Everything good?
Yes, hi Abdul. Okay, I hear you. Let me mute some of you. Okay, thank you. So this is let's go back to the exercise. And I dragged and dropped in key figures the key figures in the rows box. So what we're doing here, as I said before, if you want to create some, let's say, line charts, and that usually it's quite useful if you're trying to analyze data for a particular set of time. Let me mute some of you as well. What you do is you put the key figures in the rows and the attributes in the columns. So you have a breakdown in columns of all the months. Why this is important? Because if I go to insert a line chart instead of pie chart, let's see what happens. You see, I have another window there underneath, And now I have information of my expenditures of these 4 fan centers in Brindisi in a line chart by month. Remember that each set of data, each dot corresponds to a column here. That's why I wanted the fiscal year to be present in my column. So the reason behind swapping the axis, let's say, putting the key figures in the rows and the attribute in the columns, basically it's because I want to create a line chart. So if you want to have the full line chart, you scroll to your right, and you can see that basically you have 2 months, which was September 2017 and May 2018, where we reached in terms of expenditures in Brindisi for those 4 fan centers just above $5 million. Okay, so I inserted the line chart. That's done. Go to the tab display and swap axis how the analysis looks now. Okay, so I have my columns, my fiscal year in my columns, my key figures in my rows. I have here my line chart. There is an option, if I click in display tab, swap axis. Let me swap axis again. And you see, just let me undo so I not go so fast. You can always undo here in these 2 rows as you do in Excel. What I did, I'm selecting here the sub-analysis, which is the line chart. You see that I selected because you see a blue thick line down there, right? All the way the frame of this window. Okay. I select the sub-analysis and I swap the axis. So I'm telling the system, instead of having my columns, the key figures in rows, just put in the columns again. It's not affecting my report, it's affecting only the sub-analysis, right? This line chart really doesn't make sense. So let me go back again, and instead of selecting my sub-analysis, I'm going to select, you see I'm just clicking on the title, select the report itself, and then I click on swap axis. Okay, the report changes accordingly, right? So now fiscal year period is a row and the columns is in key figures. So the report itself in terms of numbers and cells changes, but then my sub-analysis, it doesn't change, stays the same, right? If I want my sub-analysis to change, I select the sub-analysis, I go to swap axis, and then I change. But this doesn't make sense, right? Having a sub-analysis and a line chart that with swap columns doesn't make sense because I have all the dots within one only column, so it doesn't make sense. So let me swap again and come up with my line chart. So you have 2 visualization of the data. In the first window up here, a breakdown of the figures by month, and a second sub-analysis or a sub-analysis underneath with a line chart with expenditures by month. I hope it's clear, because we're going to work a lot with swap axis and we're going to work a lot with line charts next week. So 17 is done, and Abdu, I read your chat. Don't worry about that. I know that you have some bandwidth problems, and every time that you log in, automatically you're unmute yourself, and that's why. But I'm keeping muting you in case that you don't have any question. And on the other hand, in case that you cannot follow very well the session, remember that the session will be available on YouTube in just a couple of hours from now. Okay. So remove the graph. We know how to do that, right? It's just selecting the sub-analysis, the graph, and clicking the X. So it's out, my graph, and I keep my analysis here. So the graph is done. I want to make sure that everyone's following. Can I move on to the next point? Is anything that we have done so far that needs further attention, or that you want me to repeat somehow? Okay. Okay, let me just put the chat here. Okay, so I take that as a yes, let's say, but remember that you can always post your questions or comments in the chat. So point number 19, we're almost there. Okay, point number 19. Remember that we're doing each point will represent one functionality in the analysis workspace. In these 25 points, we're not covering all the different features that you can do and different actions that you can take in an analysis workspace, of course, but the basics are here. Then once we're all together in Valente, we'll explore some others, right? But for the moment, this is much more than enough to start working with these type of reports. So point number 19, it tells us to include again in the columns the key figures pre-commitment, commitment combined, and actual combined. Include the fiscal period and the fund centers in the rows box. Okay. So let me just put again ABC fund centers. Sometimes it takes a bit of time. Okay, and then fund as well. Okay, you see how it's changed the report. Let me put fund first, and let's try to read the report now. So what I did in point number 19, basically, I dragged and dropped back from the background the other two dimensions, fund and fund center. So it's now in my rows. And now in the key figures, I do have to include the previous two columns, right? So I right-click, filter by member, commitment combined, pre-commitment combined, clicking OK, and I will see now 3 columns. Okay. So what do we have here? Okay, let's start reading from left to right. Fund, always 20 blah. Okay. Fiscal year period. So we have by each of the months of P18 from June, July, August, September, I have a breakdown of pre-commitment, commitment, and actual combined by fund center, by the same 4 fund centers, right? So what is driving my analysis? Basically, the fiscal year period, right? Because fund is always the same, but I can always change and put fund center just above the fiscal year period. And now my analysis in the report is driven by the fund center. So each fund center will have the same breakdown by months with the key figures, the corresponding key figures around here. And I do even have a subtotal here by each of the fund centers. So admin has a breakdown by month of these 3 columns with a totals here. We have totals on commitments, actual combined, and so on and so forth. Okay, if you want to remove the subtotals, remember to right-click, hide totals, go to the second column or even the third column, hide totals, and then the totals will disappear. Okay, if you don't want them to be there. If you want them to be present, totals, show totals. So you have here a totals by each of the fund centers. So that's done. Point number 19. And now we're going to use the conditional formatting option in the workspace analysis. Please mark in green the totals of actual combined above $4 million. So actual combined above $4 million will be highlighted in blue, excuse me, in green. But I think instead of a 4, I'm going to put here more than 1 million, because I don't think we have expenditures of over 4 million here. So I'm going to include a conditional formatting. So the cells for this column, actual combined, above $1 million will be highlighted in green. How to do that? Analyze tab. I go to the Analyze tab. You see conditional formatting. I click on the arrow, new conditional formatting, and then I see here a box where I can put a name to the conditional formatting. Doesn't make sense, so I just leave it like that. Based on, so I want to put a conditional formatting based on which of the columns, right? These are all the original key figures that I had present in my report. I know, or you know already, that the filter we filtered only by 3, but always the system tells you the option or asks you whether you want to use conditional formatting not only in these 3, but in any of the original key figures that were present in my report. So in our case, we do want to use actual combined. So it is actual combined. So I select actual combined. Format, you can change the cell background, the value, or put a symbol. Value meaning is you change the color of the value of the number itself instead of the background of the cell, or you can just put a symbol. Usually we use the cell background, and let me put green. You select green. If it is greater than, but you can use some other options between range, less than, equal to, not equal to. In this case, the value, and you include the value $1 million. $1 million. And you add the rule here. Now the rule is already added in my condition formatting. Mute some of you. Okay. So the rule is putting green the cell background if it is greater than 1 million. Instead of clicking OK, I'm going to go and see the preview. You see, I'm going to tick on preview. If I tick on preview, you see in the background of my report that is grayed out, I see which is the result of my conditional formatting. It looks OK, so I click on OK, and you see that the conditional formatting has been inserted in my report in all the different cells that comply with the rule that I have inserted, which is over $1 million in terms of actual expenditure. You can put not only one, but several conditional formattings applying to one or more columns, right? In this case, we only used one, actual combined. Okay, is it clear? I think it's, I don't know how useful it is in terms of analysis, because to be frank with you, I don't usually use it, but it's there. And as long as it's there and it's easy to explain and something that is very similar to what we do in Excel, I think it's worth to tell you how it works. So let me go back to the exercise and put in red point number 20, and let me go to point number 21, which is in the box rows. Move dimension fiscal year above fund center. What do you see? Well, basically we did that before, right? Basically the exercise is telling us to play around with the order of these rows, these attributes. So fiscal year, if I put it above fund center, the different figure changes, right? Why? Because now the element driving my analysis, and let me just put fund in the background, so we get rid of this one that actually is not giving any value. Fiscal year is driving my analysis, meaning that, first of all, June 2017 is going to be broken down by these 4 fund centers, and I have information by those fund centers by month: June, July, August, September. On the contrary, if I just put fiscal year underneath fund center, which element is driving my analysis? In this case, is fund center. Yes, I see Emil is asking whether I can repeat the part of sorting. I was having issues with the voice connectivity, so I couldn't hear very well. Don't, Emil, of course. We were playing around here with the attributes in our rows here, with these 2, fund center and fiscal year period. Currently, the element driving my analysis is the fund center, right? Because it's the one first in my analysis here. And the second one is fiscal year period. If I want the fiscal year period to drive my analysis, what I do is fiscal year, I put it just above. I'm just dragging and drop it there above fund center, and now the fiscal year is present first in my layout and then the fund center. So it's just a matter of playing around here putting one after the other or one above the other in order to change the layout of your report. It's as easy as that. You can always do the same thing by, instead of here in these icons, you just drag and drop, you see, the title and then drop it there, but sometimes it doesn't work very well. So I prefer, much better to use these icons and drag it and drop it above or above, depending of my needs, right? But let me just mute some of the participants. I know some of you are experiencing problems with the bandwidth, and every time you log in again into the WebEx, your mic activates. So don't worry, I know that. And what I do, I'm usually muting once that happens. Ibrahim, I think that's oh, Emil, sorry. I think that's the answer to your question. As easy as I said, playing around with these two, drag it and drop it above or just below. Very clear. Okay, Emil, thank you. So that's done. 22, put again the SC with fan center in background box, so I can put back center in the background and see what happens. Basically, what I'm going to see here now, it's fiscal year period in the layout of my analysis. Let me just open here. By month, I have a breakdown of the pre-commitment, commitment, and actual. And you see, every time I'm taking an action to the rows background, the conditional formatting stays there because the rule stays there. If I want to change or modify or edit or delete, this conditional formatting is as easy as going here, going to conditional formatting, edit, or delete. So you see that I have deleted my conditional formatting functionality by just going here. If I want to create a new one, I put a new one. Okay, then that's done. Then point number 23, insert a column chart. How do we do that? First, let me ask you a question. If I insert now a column chart, how many charts am I going to see?
4.
You know
what I see 3 charts. 3 charts.
3 charts. Why 3 charts?
I think
because
4.
I do have 3 key figures, right? I do have pre-commitment, commitment, and actual. So if I go to insert bar chart, drop measures your key allowed display chart. Let me see. I don't know why. Let me see if I go here. Sorry, stack column here. This was Valencia. The measures of hierarchies into the layout panel to display chart. I don't know why. This is not. Let me just see one moment and mute some of you. Just a second, okay? So I don't know why this is not. Maybe I have to. Let me put back. From the background to the rows, I insert now. Exactly, doesn't make sense. So let me just close this chart. And please playing around it, just a second. So I'm going to put the fan centers in the background, the font there. Drop measures hierarchy in the layout panel to display chart. I don't know why this is not giving you a. Let me just select another one, stack bar, or even a pie chart. Usually this shouldn't give any problem, but let me just keep one column, keep member. Okay, I don't know why this is not working. Maybe because I'm Okay, fiscal year period. Okay, instead of the fiscal year period, I'm going to put the fiscal year period in the background. All right. And then I'm going to put the fund centers here. So I'm going to try to now, instead of the fund centers here, click in. Here we go. I don't know why the fiscal year period is not giving me a bar chart. I will test that before, because I had tested the exercise before and without a problem. I don't know why. So basically, I'm putting in the rows my 4 fund centers, right, with the actual combined with the expenditures by all those 4 fund centers. Fiscal year period and fund are in the background. So in this case, I only see one pie chart, one bar chart, because I only have one key figure. But if I include other 2, like pre-commitment combined and commitment combined, okay. Let me mute some of you. How many pie charts bar charts do I see? 3. Pre-commitment combined, commitment combined, and actual combined. Okay, this one, the actual combined, it's a bar chart with the bars that you can see are displayed the tallest, let's say, or the highest, because these ones have the figure, the key figure, the figures with the highest number, right? 18 million, 10 million, 20 million, right? Whereas the pre-commitments, it's only $11,000 or $19,000, right? So I have 3 bar charts. If I want to see only the one related to actual, I scroll to my right, and I'm telling the system basically to only come up with the actual combined here. You can always change. You see, if I select the sub-analysis and I switch to pie, I'm changing the graphical view, instead of a bar chart, of a pie chart. And again, I can just select one. If I'm not so happy with the result, I can always switch to a clustered column again. Okay, so let me just go back to point number 23, and then we're going to save and export. Okay, so we've been playing around for an hour and a half with Analysis Workspace. Let's say that this is the way that I want my report to be finished for the moment. So we have a breakdown of these 4 fund centers with the information on pre-commitment, commitment, and actual, and these 3 nice bar charts. So how do I save my report? As easy as going to the floppy disk here, save as, and remember, automatically comes in your documents. Remember that in the save functionality in the Web Intelligence reports, automatically it came production, but now in Analysis Workspace it goes to the documents. So I'm going to save it under test. And let me mute some of you as well. And I'm going to put a file name, which is Analysis Workspace test Valencia, for example. I'm going to save it there. So it's saved already. How do I see it? So I go to Documents, My Documents, My Favorites, in Test. And you can see the AWS Test Valencia that I created on June 20th at this time. So it's there. It's saved. So as easy as going to the floppy disk and save as under any of the folders or subfolders that you have created under your favorites. So that's an easy one. Right. And the last point is how to export. The same icon, remember, as in the Web Intelligence reports. Export data to Excel. You click there and you can export to PDF or Excel. Again, the system is telling you, okay, in the sheet number 1, which is this one, I find 2 items. First, a test WebEx Valencia Reporting Academy, which is this window, this report, and then a sub-analysis, which is a graphical view, which is called number 10, you want them, both of them, to be exported to Excel. You can select yes or no. You can just select one, the two, or only one. So in this case, it's okay if we just include two of them, and we click in OK. Then I want to save it in my desktop. I put it there, 2018, and let me just AW Test Valencia. This is okay. So this is how it looks in Excel. Nothing really promising, to be frank with you. Exporting to Excel analysis workspaces are, I mean, depending on the report itself, but the functionality actually works much better in the analysis workspace, in the web intelligence reports. But at least you have something, right? You have your plan centers with the key figures there, right? And what do we have here? Test WebEx here. The second tab here, I have information on the prompt initially that I put it. Remember, I included P18, fund UNLV, and ABC Ledger set 1. Third tab, it's the data visualization, right? But there is a problem here, a limitation. Which is the limitation? The limitation is that the graphical view, it's there. I can see a graph, but it's just a picture. You see, it's a picture that I can change the side, but if I double click, I cannot modify. So it's not a graph itself. It's just a picture of the graph that we can see in production, right? It's just a picture of this. It's like I'm taking a screenshot of this, right? I'm doing that now. And I'm pasting it in my Excel sheet. So the added value of exporting graphs in Excel from an analysis workspace, well, you have to tell me, because I don't see really, besides having a graphical view of how the data looks like, nothing really promising. And the fourth tab, basically, it's information of how the prompt from this sub-analysis, from this graph, comes. So basically, yes, it's P18, fund, Brindisi and Valencia, and then set ledger set 1. So each of the sheets has a corresponding, let's say, summary of the prompt. So first, the table itself, the layout of the report, and secondly, the sub-analysis or the graphical view of the data. Okay, let me take a look at the chat. Okay, it's already done. Okay, good. So I think we were 8 minutes over the session as we expected, but I think that we went through all these different data and all these different steps. And let me just put that again. This is the exercise that we went through for 1 hour and 40 minutes. We tested not all the functionalities in the analysis workspace, but most of them. Please do try to work with the exercise that I'm going to send you right away, along with this session, with this the exercise that we went through now. Try to do, if you want, the two of them, but we want one of those exercises back to us, please, at the end of the day or at Friday, your COB. So you can test and you can see yourself working with analysis workspace, and then you can tell us whether you understood, you didn't understand, whether you experienced problems, whether you did well, and everything is okay. So that's important for us because it's a lot of information for an hour and a half, and the exercises as we go along with different steps gets more complicated, let's say, especially if this is the first time that you are witnessing these type of reports. So I'm going to stop the recording right now. Let me just close this. Let me recorder. Let me stop now.